Welcome to the Great American Collectibles Show, brought to you each week by the National Sports Collectors Convention. Join us every Wednesday evening at 6:30 Eastern Standard Time and get the latest news from the greatest experts in the sports collectibles world. You can watch us on the Great American Collectibles Facebook page, as well as YouTube, or you can listen to us on Spotify, Pandora, iHeartRadio, or any of your favorite podcast platforms. And now your hosts, award-winning sports collectibles author Tom Zappola and Red Sox Hall of Famer Rico Petrocelli.
Mr. P, how are you, my man?
All right, good. Good to see you.
You look good. What's going on?
I look good.
No, you do. You really look good.
I'm losing a little weight.
You've been working out.
Yeah, I've been working out and at the Y and
YWCA?
Yeah, 10 miles a day I'm doing around the track.
Yeah, you're doing 10 miles a day. Can I tell you something this week? I've done 45 miles on the bike.
Wow, that's good.
Right?
Come back to or just stay?
That's one way.
No, we got two great guests.
I'm saying, welcome to the Great American Collectibles Show. Tom Zappola, my paisan, my good friend, my mentor, my older brother, Red Sox Hall of Famer Rico Petrocelli in the house. This is kind of a special show.
Yes, it is.
Because, first of all, we have two great guests. They're on now, right? Okay. Executive Vice President of Heritage Auctions, our good friend, Joe Orlando, who is like my wife's son.
Joe Orlando.
Ellen always refers to Joe as her son.
Yeah.
Let's call our son. That's just honest to God, Joe.
About me, be my grandson.
Right, exactly. But our other guest disappeared. He disappeared 7 years ago. He disappeared. Now, the reason he disappeared, I suspect, because he did okay with his last major transaction. So he decided to take a little sabbatical.
Oh, okay.
In beautiful Myrtle Beach.
Yeah.
But like the phoenix, he has risen again.
He's come back, huh?
He has risen again.
Well, we got
our
story.
Oldest,
It's a great story.
I'll tell you what, this guy here, he's special to us, special to the show. Rick Snyder from Mint State, capital M, capital I, capital N, capital T, State, which drives me crazy, but that's okay. He was in the first wave of our sponsors. When we first went on the air, Rick says, "I'm on," and you were, Rick. You were
a lot of exciting things.
You were right there at the opening bell for us, and we really appreciate that. And meant a lot to us. Not only that, and Mr. Orlando was very instrumental too. When we did the Jimmy Fund telethon, not telethon, fundraiser in Palm Beach, in Delray Beach,
Florida.
At Boston's on the Beach. Rick and his beautiful wife, Beth, came down to participate in helping us for that fundraiser for the cancer kids, Jimmy Fund Cancer Kids.
And
thank you.
It is. And Joe, right now, I'm not obviously an expert.
No.
But I learned a lot from him. Not only that, he was...
Be careful here.
No, I'm serious.
Because you haven't learned that much.
Wait, no. I mean, I got so much more interested, no bullcrap, more in the industry, really, because of the stuff. I was getting the magazine, too. It was so much fun. Then, then all of a sudden, where is it?
That magazine bites now.
But I'm just saying, at that time, it was great. Remember, I went to the first National?
Yeah.
And when Joe was there?
Yeah, I do remember that.
What did he do?
Nothing.
What do you mean, what did he do?
He took us out to dinner.
Well.
Oh, that was good.
And how about the big lines over there that were his former company? So these two guys are special. That's my point. Not just bullcrap.
Joe, do you remember, before we get going, do you remember the dessert that Rico had at Gibson's?
Oh, stop it.
I'm still eating the leftovers. Yeah.
Rico had a piece of strawberry shortcake that was as big as his head.
I think Joe challenged me.
He did challenge you.
You can't eat that.
Unbelievable. All right, listen. We're here for a reason. Let's go back in history a little bit first, Rick, and then we'll talk about a press release that's going out tomorrow and what's transpired in the last year or so, a couple of years. But let's talk about the Lucky 7 find, which Joe Orlando, and we're going to show it later on, said on the air that this was the greatest find of all time at the time. Now, I don't know if things have changed since then, but Rick, can you walk us through it and then what happened, your relationship with Joe, and how you guys all came together on the Lucky 7 find?
Absolutely. It was the end of February 2016 when a family contacted me and said they had 7 Ty Cobb baseball cards with the motto, Ty Cobb, King of the Smoking Tobacco World, on the back. And despite my initial skepticism, I pursued it, eventually met with the family, and as soon as I was able to handle the cards in person, we had a scheduled phone call with Joe.
Well, hold on. Did you drive? Did you? Where were they? Where were you compared to where they were located?
They were in the South. They were within a day's driving distance of seeing me. And at the time, I was the first and only authorized PSA authorized dealer in the state of South Carolina.
Oh, wow.
And we had just moved to the state maybe 6 months earlier. And so it was fate. If we had not moved to South Carolina, they never would have contacted me.
Where'd they get them? The cards?
He's going to tell us.
I'm sorry.
Don't interrupt.
Well, I'm anxious.
No, that is a great question. The family found the cards in a paper bag in a dilapidated 130, 140-year-old family home.
Wow. Wow.
I don't know where the home was located. I specifically asked them not to tell me, so I would not be able to divulge that. But I've seen pictures, and it looks like something from Little House on the Prairie.
Wow.
And it had been lived in for decades. They were in the process of selling the home, and while they were cleaning it up, they found this paper bag. One family member wanted to discard it. Another family member said, let's look through it. And they found these 7 Ty Cobb cards face down in the paper bag. And that's when they called me. We met in person. And as I said, the first thing I said to Joe when we got on the phone with us, I said, Joe, they're real.
What was Orlando? I want to know what Orlando's response was. Okay, so are like unicorns.
Well,
absolutely. I mean, anybody should have pure skepticism.
Exactly. Joe?
But, yeah.
Joe, go ahead. Your thoughts on the other end of the phone.
I was going to say either Rick, found the find of a lifetime, or he discovered some really powerful recreational drugs.
Yeah.
So it was either way. It was going to be a good day.
And
you called Joe.
Sorry, do you want me to continue?
Please.
Joe. We sent the cards in. My in-laws were visiting us at the time, and we were at a restaurant. And I get a phone call from Joe. It's Friday afternoon. And he says to me, are you sitting down? And as soon as he said that, I knew that they confirmed what I believed, was that these cards were absolutely authentic.
All right, stop. 1 second. Joe, when you opened up the envelope or the package that Rick sent and you looked at them, what was your initial reaction?
It was almost instantaneous from the perspective, and Rick and I had talked about this, years ago. It's almost, 9 years ago now. Each card had a slight difference, and this is true of just other T206s as well. When you look at the jersey, the registration, the little details like in the facial region, sometimes it's washed out, sometimes there's more color. There were little variations across the cards, and that was the first thing that caught my eye. When someone is counterfeiting something, when you're worried that it's not authentic, what do? They copy the same thing over and over again. But it was those, as soon as you opened them up and you saw those little subtle, variations in the print between the cards, it was, again, as you're going one by one, it was like, okay, wait a minute, these could be real. And then, of course, you look at them a little bit more closely to make sure front and back everything, checks out. But it was, the reaction or that initial impression was pretty remarkable. Yeah.
Rick, so you're in a restaurant, your phone rings, it's Joe. He says, are you sitting down? What was your reaction?
So a confirmation that I knew that our lives, and more importantly, this family's lives, would change with this find. That I knew I was involved in something that was hobby shattering, that was so unusual in the rarity of the card. Even the decision to get them all graded at the same time was something that wasn't taken lightly. There were other dealers who at the time said, well, I think you're going to hurt the value of the card. And my instinct told me at the time was it's the exact opposite. We need to make this such an incredible story that it puts the card more on, the mountaintop that it deserves to be. At the point that the Lucky Seven find happened, the highest price ever paid for that card was $154,000. We sold all 8, including the legacy, the 8th card that was found a year later, for $3 million. And so we completely changed, I think, the landscape and the perception of this, known and rare card.
Now, at the time that
that was what sort of went through my mind almost instantaneously when Joe called. I knew this was all about to happen, and it was exciting beyond, description.
Joe, when you moved the cards over into your grading area, what was the reaction with the guys that graded it, the grading team? I mean, was it like something that they had never seen before? I mean, I know that there's Wagner's that they've done and all that, but was there any kind of a reaction from the grading team?
Oh yeah, I mean and of course we'll get into this. I'm sure a little later, but of course we had already graded
Right.
other examples. I think at the time there was maybe 15-ish known up until that point. So they had seen them before, but to see them all together,
that's
on place, and again, it's sort of I would tell people this for the experts, for the guys that do this every day. You know it when you see it because of all that collective experience that you've gained over the years. When they first saw the car, I mean, it's almost instantaneous. But again, to see them all together at once, I mean, just think about that for a second. It's like there are around 15 known, and then 7 of them, nearly 50% of the population,
right? It is.
show up in one box. I mean, it's hard to get your mind wrapped around exactly how tough this is. Again, far tougher than the Wagner card, quite frankly.
No, it's really mind-boggling. And then all of a sudden, Rick, all hell breaks loose. Forbes, New York Times, Wall Street Journal, everybody picks up the story.
Which is great.
I don't know who released it. Did you guys release the story, Joe, or did you release the story, Rick?
PSA released it on a Wednesday. I learned that Wednesday is an ideal day for issuing a press release. Theirs went out on Wednesday. Mine followed a day later. I think that pinch me moment came midnight Wednesday. My son called me up and said, turn on ESPN, they're doing the Cobb. And that's when it just washed over me, that I knew that I was a part of something that was going to outlive me and my company. And so it was a thrill and still is.
Interestingly enough, Joe, I think you know this. We are recording, we broadcast this show right over the Mass line in Salem, New Hampshire. And I believe, Joe, correct me if I'm wrong, but the guy that owned or still owns the card that Rick was talking about that went for $143,000 lives in this town.
Yes, he does.
Right?
That's right. Yeah, he's a friend of ours. Guy, we've known him for a while, but a long-time collector. But yeah,
he's right down the street from us, which is again, Rick. It's all kind of a weird kind of a web that this whole Lucky Seven find is all about. All right, so now the cards are graded. Okay, and Rick, you made a determination, and you and I have talked about this, and Joe and I have talked about this. You made a determination to sell the cards. You have a philosophy. Your business model is a little different than the norm. Is that a fair statement?
Absolutely, it is. We use auctions primarily to finish a consignment, to clean something up.
Yep.
And that is the primary means for selling an item. We use direct sales. We put a price on it and then negotiate with buyers. And so that is our basic business model. And we apply that to the Lucky Seven find, and all 7 cards sold, using direct sales. Some actually involve trades, and we could talk more about that later. There's nothing I like better than taking two consigners who have properties consigned to me and brokering a trade, and
Sure.
each one gets the other's material. And that happened with a couple of the cards as well.
All right, so you've got 7 cards. You've sold them. With your customer base, obviously, because of what happened with the press, everybody knew. Did the phone calls start coming in? I mean, did you really have to market the cards, or did the phone calls coming in say, "Hey, Rick, I want to bid on one"?
Absolutely, the latter. The cards and the incredible job that Joe and PSA did was really all the marketing that the cards needed. Folks did come to me, and we were able to get them all sold through contacts like that, or contacts that I had made during the course of the Lucky 7 find as well.
We have a few minutes before we take a break. Joe, I want to direct this question to you, and you are you're the resident T206 expert, in my opinion, in this country. I really believe that from day one. Maybe your boss knows, your old boss, he knew a little something too, but but you're right up there. Let's talk about. We have a few minutes. Let's talk about the Cobb card. Is the Cobb card part of the actual T206 collection? That's always been a question.
I feel that it is. Now, I know there are people on both sides of the fence on this argument, but I feel that it is. And the reason for it, if you look at the set and you consider, first of all, that Ty Cobb was the man. I mean, he was the superstar of the game at the time. Of course, there are the 4 different poses in the sort of base set, if you want to call it that. And when you look at the construction of the card itself, it is identical to the red portrait in terms of the thickness, the sizing, all of that, with the exception of what? 2 things. The back, having that, the King Ty Cobb, back on it, and then also that slightly glossy coating on top. To me, it would make sense that they would create a special card. I mean, look at the era that we live in now with all of these parallels and inserts and Willy Wonka golden ticket cards that are associated with these base sets. It makes sense to me. It seems logical to me that they would make a special card of the greatest name in the game. And when you look at, again, the construction of the card and how similar it is, it's not like it's some wildly different looking card. It's the red portrait with a custom back and a slightly glossy coating on the front. I believe it is. Jefferson Burdick believed it was. He categorized it, cataloged it that way. I think that a lot of people do, but it's something that makes for a fun debate.
Well,
because it's different. It makes for a fun debate. I believe that it should be connected to the set.
What's the other group think, Joe? That it's what?
That it's not.
That it's not, or it's another year, a different year. T205.
The other side of the argument is that it was a one-off. That it's not connected to the set. It was just a random sort of unique product that was created
because of the tobacco.
Yeah.
Yeah, but again, every other thing seems to point to some connection to
the set.
I believe. Yeah.
Rick, what are your thoughts?
I agree completely with Joe. I think the biggest argument that I have heard against why the card should be included in the set is because there's only one front associated with the tobacco ad back, unlike every other ad back of the set where it has multiple players. It's not just one.
Right.
But that, to me, if you use that argument, I could work backwards and say, well, any player that doesn't have the same number of backs possible shouldn't be considered part of the set or is lesser. And I don't buy into that. If you look at the tin that the tobacco was sold in, his brand of tobacco with his card, it features, I think it's the bat on shoulder pose. It's another of his poses in the T206.
I never knew that. I never realized that. Interesting.
And so based on everything I know about the card and all the research and even the stories that these families have, which adds to sort of story that you can put together as best you can, because there's really not a lot that is known about the card tobacco. I've heard arguments that we don't even know if it was sold with the tobacco. I think that's silly. I think it absolutely was packaged. Even the cards we have seen have tobacco stain, which means it was packaged with tobacco.
Interesting.
And so we can get, if we have time, we can get into my theories into a little bit more.
Yeah, we're gonna talk about this. And by the way, we're gonna take a quick break. And this has all been a backstory to the real story of why Joe and Rick are here today. Because guess what, Rico? Mr. Snyder has in his possession another Ty Cobb red
You're
card.
kidding.
Honest to God.
Can I borrow it?
All right, we're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we got a Gax blast from the past, and we're going to talk about the press release that's going out tomorrow and another Rick Snyder home run. Hang in there. We'll be right back.
Hi, I'm Rebecca Curry, a two-time child cancer survivor, recipient, and advocate for Lucy's Love Bus. The mission of Lucy's Love Bus, 501c3 nonprofit, is to provide joy, comfort, and quality of life for the entire family of children with cancer. Since 2006, they have delivered love and comfort to over 3,000 children with cancer and their family members across New England. The dream of Lucy Grogan, an 11-year-old cancer patient, was to help kids with cancer who are suffering right now, before there is a cure, by offering free, integrative therapies like art, music, horseback riding, and many other activities. Unfortunately, Lucy passed away, but her dream lives on, and today Lucy's Love Bus is thriving.
I'm Red Sox Hall of Famer Rico Petrocelli. I hope that you'll consider supporting Lucy's Love Bus and all of those children who have been stricken by cancer. The Great American Collectibles Show is partnering with Lucy's Love Bus to help these kids. Let's continue Lucy's dream. Please go to lucyslovebus.org for more information.
Since 1996, Brian Drent and the staff at Denver's Mile High Card Company have led the charge in the collectibles hobby. Mile High is a full-service dealer specializing in buying and selling cards and offers a competitive consignment program for all collectors. Whether it be their computerized want list service, appraisals, or auction services, Mile High has it all. If you've been searching for a company with a selection of high-grade vintage 1888 to 1970 baseball cards and memorabilia that shares your passion, aim high, Mile High. Go to milehighcardco.com or call 303-840-2784 for more information.
Let's go! Batter up!
Hi, everyone. This is Rico Petrocelli. JustCollect.com, a leader in the vintage sports card industry, is giving free appraisals on your vintage cards. They'll evaluate your collection for free and let you know the value of it at no cost and no obligation. If you're ready to sell, JustCollect.com will offer you industry-leading prices to buy your card collection. To begin your free baseball card appraisal, visit JustCollect.com or call them at 732-828-2261. That's JustCollect.com for your free vintage card appraisals and top buy prices for your cards. Check out JustCollect.com today.
Hi, this is Dan from Memory Lane Auctions, here to remind you that the renowned Memory Lane Collectibles Company has served as a beacon of light to the collecting community for the past several decades. Indeed, folks, it has been our utmost privilege and pleasure to provide the most enthusiastic collectors with an abundance of the finest sports cards and memorabilia for America's most coveted sports personalities via our world-class auctions. Whether you choose either a private sale transaction or the auction route, Memory Lane cordially invites you to reach out to us to maximize the value of your prized possessions. Also, it is not just sales that we pride ourselves on being the best of the rest, because if you are seeking a particular keepsake for your esteemed gathering, we will be relentless in our quest to find that special piece to fulfill your collecting dreams. So no time to wait. Reach out to us today for the purposes of capitalizing on our unparalleled marketing capabilities. Simply pick up the phone and dial 877-606-5263. That's 877-606-LANE, or find us on the World Wide Web at www.memorylaneinc.com. Now is the time for your valued consignment to ultimately become another one of Memory Lane's record-setting prices.
This is Brian Drent, president of Mile High Card Company. Is your sports card and memorabilia collection properly insured? For easily replaced personal property, homeowners insurance is all most people need. But for prized possessions that you may have spent a lifetime collecting, it doesn't go nearly far enough. Collectables Insurance Services has been insuring for over 50 years. They offer a full range of protection and a $0 deductible at an affordable rate with no appraisals required. I know because they insure my collection. If you have a minute, go to collectinsure.com and learn more about insuring your personal card or memorabilia collection.
How would you like to own the bat that was used by your favorite player when he hit that towering home run or game-winning base hit? Now look no further than JT Sports, specializing in the sale and authentication of professional game-used bats. As the official authenticators of professional model game-used bats for PSA DNA, JT Sports will guarantee the authenticity of any bat purchased from them. JT Sports also buys and sells game-worn uniforms, gloves, and baseball equipment. The unique quality of the collectible is what JT Sports is all about. Give them a call at 609-487-8003 or check them out at GameUseBats.com.
Okay, we are back, and Petrocelli is late again.
No, I'm not. I'm taking my time. I want to do it right. Let me see. Oh, good.
You know,
I got it.
after this show, I have an hour and a half to kill. I have to go to physical therapy for my knee, my last class. But it's only 2 miles from here. What should I do for an hour and a half? I was thinking about going to Mickey D's, hanging out there, maybe get a cheeseburger.
Yeah. Get something to eat, something to drink.
Something light.
This
I'm not going to
way-
have like a quarter pounder or anything.
Yeah, this way you can take it off when you.
When I go work out.
Yeah, right.
Right? All right.
Sure.
Just want to make sure.
Yeah.
All right. It is time, before we get into why we're all here, it is time now for our GAX Blast from the Past, brought to us each week by our good friend Paul Borges and the gang at pbcollectibles.com. PB Collectibles, your neighborhood card shop. Go to pbcollectibles.com to find that special card or piece of memorabilia. This week's Gas Blast from the Past, it was a little snippet that was recorded by Mr. Orlando. Look how much younger he looks in that picture.
Well,
No, actually, not that much younger. He's a little puffier.
yeah.
Joe, you're a little puffier. I know you can't see
Looks
it now.
good now,
You look as though
better
you had,
now.
yeah, you look as though you had about 10 more LBs on back then.
Just the pop. I can't. I mean, rigatoni.
Is that what it was? Anyway, this was a little snippet that Joe did back in 2016, Joe, right around then?
Wow,
Yeah. Let's take a listen. And this is about the Lucky 7 find.
yeah. I remember.
Was combing through the possessions of their great-grandfather, and at the bottom of a crumpled paper bag, beneath some postcards and other paper goods, these 7 cards were found clustered together face down at the very base of the bag. And at first they thought it was trash, and luckily one of the family members decided, let me sift through the contents of this bag, and thankfully they did. And this particular Ty Cobb card is associated with the T206 series, and these cards were distributed with tobacco products. Before this find, there were only 15 known examples of this particular Ty Cobb card. So to find 7 in one shot is simply miraculous. There's only 7 cards. But if you look at it in context and you measure the power of these 7 cards, I think you could argue this is the coolest find that we've ever seen.
Pretty cool.
Absolutely.
Coolest find that we've ever seen.
Jeez.
Which leads me
Yes.
to the second segment of our show. I got a call from Mr. Snyder about a week and a half ago. I got a call from Mr. Snyder about a week and a half ago, and he said, "You're not going to believe it, but here's what happened." Rick, I'm handing this over to you now.
All right. Well, thank you. 5.5 years ago, I was contacted by a family in North Carolina who had a large T206 collection, more than 500 cards, that had been gifted to the family between 70 and 80 years ago from a former employee of the American Tobacco Company who had worked at one of the factories. And to sort of, jump ahead to reveal this part of the story, all of the cards except one came from factory number 25 in Virginia, every single one. And it seemed to fit in perfectly with what they understood it to be as a collection that had been put together by an employee of the company. They held on to it for a number of years and then gifted it to this family, where 3 generations treated them as they are, their children's toys, and they played with them. And then in May of 2019, someone in the family started doing a little research on the cards and realized they are quite valuable. And so that's when they decided to go ahead and call me. It took 5.5 years from that point for them to decide that they actually wanted to go ahead and liquidate the collection. And the first thing that I had to do, because we had not done this in 2019, is I had to see the cards in person to be able to know if they were authentic. And I knew what the highlight of the collection was. I'd said one card of the collection was not from Factory 25, it was from Factory 33. And if folks who are very familiar with the set know what that is the Ty Cobb brand of tobacco. And so, to my amazement, what could have been the 9th example that has been presented to Mint State in ungraded form to have us confirm if it's authentic or not, and then handle the sale of the card. We went to this family's home. I took my daughter. Grace is the only one besides me on this side of the fence that has handled all of these cards in raw form. She has been with me every step of the way. So we made a trip to North Carolina.
Isn't that great?
And
It's unbelievable.
I sit down, I get myself all set up, as I normally do when I review people's collections. And we start with the Cobb with Cobb back. And it took me about 30 seconds, and I started smirking. And she literally asked me, "Why are you smirking?" And I said, "You're only the second person I'm ever going to say this to. Your Cobb with Cobb back is the real deal." And so we took on the collection on consignment. As we were doing so, I actually interviewed my consignor to get as much of the backstory as I possibly could. And while we didn't give it a formal name, we did want to dub it something so that folks could know that there's a story behind the collection and know whether or not they're getting part of it. And so it wasn't until I realized that every card, with the exception of the Cobb with Cobb back, was from Factory 25, and we have dubbed it the Factory 25 Collection. Has
Nice.
545 total T206s, 370 cards are different, 70% of the complete set. And while all the cards, with the exception of the one, have Piedmont and Old Mill backs, the fact that one of the cards has the absolute rarest back of all the T206s was just mind-boggling. And it's been, authenticated and graded by PSA. And we're going to be, putting it on the market later this week.
Rick,
That's amazing.
of the 570 cards, were there any non-T206s in there?
Yes, there were 25 non-T206s, about a dozen other baseball cards, and then cards from the T58 series, which are fish, and they're from Piedmont. And from what I understand, Piedmont cigarettes did from time to time have non-baseball subjects included in their cigarette packs.
I understand there was a Petrocelli card in there that had relish on the back of it.
He was quite young looking, actually.
Yeah.
He looked like Shaq Shaughnessy.
I have a question for you on the Lucky Seven. Just for a second to go back, did you auction them off all at the same time?
We put them up for sale at the same time.
I mean, that's
all
right. You
7
mentioned
cards,
that. Yes, yeah.
And then it
Okay.
took 13 or 14 months to eventually sell them directly at the prices that the family and I thought were appropriate for the cards.
All right, so
go
ahead. I'm sorry.
I'm just going to say, and so they were delighted with the entire process. And then after the first 7 sold, for those unfamiliar with the story, the family had found an 8th example, an 8th Cobb with Cobb back in this it was in between 2 old books. Well, at this point, they know it's authentic. If the first 7 were, they knew this one was as well. And we called that the Lucky 7 Legacy. And it was the 8th Cobb with Cobb back that came from this one family.
Rick, what was on the Lucky 7 find? What was the highest price for one of those cards?
It was seven figures. It was.
It was
$20
7.
million.
Okay. Now, for this card, what did this card grade out at? May I ask?
It is a one. In fact, if you like, I can show it to you.
Yeah, it would
right
be
now.
wonderful. I think
It
that
is
would
a
be nice.
1.5. But don't let the grade fool you, because amazingly enough, something that this card does not exhibit that most Cobb with Cobb backs do is it has no creases and no surface wrinkles. The entire grade is explained by, let's see if we
It's a beautiful
take it
card.
out of the plastic.
Beautiful card. Wow.
Yeah. Wow. That's nice.
It's the wear, especially at the corners, and the staining. You can tell the card was packaged with the granulated cup block, which is the Ty Cobb brand of tobacco.
Can you flip it? Can you flip it over so we can see the
Oh,
back?
absolutely. I'm sorry, of course. This is actually the entire
Go
reason
to
why.
the other
There
side.
you
Yeah,
go.
right
there.
there.
You go. Right there.
Oh, wow.
Wow, that's so cool. Joe, what are your thoughts?
Well, first of all, I would like to thank Rick for consigning that card to Heritage Auctions.
Remember, I told you he was going to take one shot.
It's not up to me.
Take one.
It's to the family.
No. In all seriousness, no. I mean, I think it's great that with Rick's involvement in, again, what I think is maybe the coolest find that the hobby has ever seen, pound per pound. That he was able to acquire this. I mean, there's no better guy to represent the card than Rick at this his experience. And I mean, I'm sure Rick is pinching himself like, how could this?
I mean, think about that. I mean, let's give that some thought for a minute. Rick, what are the chances? I mean, it's you said it. It's got to be fate. I mean, what were the chances of all the dealers in the country receiving another one from people totally removed from the other people? It's just like mind-boggling.
It is. I sometimes think about it and then realize I should stop questioning it. Undoubtedly, the Lucky 7 find helped connect me to this family.
There's no doubt. Absolutely.
Absolutely. And so I'm hoping that this continues, that when this story gets released,
Another
the next
one.
person who has a Cobb with Cobb back says, Rick, I'd love you to come in and take a look at this card.
What's
And
the
so-
GPA? What's the GPA on the entire collection?
I'm going to guess it's between 1.5 and 2.
Okay.
It is a very low grade collection.
And you got a lot of Hall of Famers? A lot of Hall of Famers?
Absolutely. It is almost as representative as you would think it would be. There's two other Cobbs. There's the bat on shoulder and the green background. There's Christy Mathewson portrait and the white cap. There's Walter Johnson, Cy Young. One of my favorite cards in the entire set was here. I can't even recall what it is.
So
Tris
when you
Speaker's
sell-
rookie card. Tris Speaker's rookie card is in there, and it's a beautiful.
Yeah, that's a great
sample.
card. So
Yeah, even though it's technically graded low, it still has so much.
it's a great
eye-
card. That was one of my favorite cards in that collection. When you market these, I'm assuming you're going to sell them individually, number one. And number two, are they going to be marketed as part of the Factory 25 collection?
Absolutely.
Yeah, I think that's key. I think that's key.
Absolutely.
Now,
absolutely, we will. Yes.
But they're not graded. You're going to sell those raw?
No, they are. In fact, here I'll quickly pull it out. The one I just mentioned.
I guess my question is, does it say the Factory 25?
No, we did not ask, and believe it or not, a lot of collectors actually don't like that. I once sold a collection that was pedigreed, and many of my customers actually resent it back to PSA and asked them to take the pedigree name off. And so we didn't want to put people in that position. I'm not even sure if PSA would have granted the pedigree or the collection name rather, but I'm able to keep everything, tracked in terms of their originating from this collection, and that's how they'll be marketed.
Very cool. So is the
amazing.
I know. Is the Cobb card going to be the first card offered, or are you going to do it all at the same time, or are you going to wait till the end to offer that card?
we're gonna, the first 11 cards, the most valuable of the entire collection, have been graded and by PSA, and so we'll get those going at the end of the week. Folks will have a chance to purchase these cards, and if many times they'll inquire about other cards, whether or not if it was in the set, what do I think it's going to grade, and so sometimes I'll have people in place before a card's even returned back from PSA.
Cool, very cool.
So what should collectors do? There's millions of listening and watching.
Yeah, that's a
us.
good question.
And should they
For
go
once.
out and buy these old houses and knock down the
That's
walls?
not your question. I didn't think that was going to be your question.
Oh no, well no.
I thought your question was going to be.
You know what I was thinking of the people who found the cards. They young couple or an older couple.
Well, this was a family inheritance that would have been passed down from one generation to the next over 3 or 4 generations.
Right.
So it had been in their family for 70, 80, maybe even more, years.
Oh, okay.
And it really wasn't until someone it was in a cigar box, wrapped in aluminum foil, and no one knew why the box was wrapped in aluminum foil. And again, one family member said, throw it away. Another family member said, no, open it up, see what's in there. And sure enough, they found this entire collection.
Very cool. All right, we're going to take a quick break. Joe, we decided that we're going to ask you to stay on board throughout the third segment. Rick Snyder's in the house. Joe Orlando's in the house.
You know he doesn't have something to do.
What does he got to do? He doesn't do anything. What does he have to do?
Yeah, right.
His kids are in the next room trying to break down the door to get in there, and his dog.
No, he's working hard. You know
No, I'm
that.
kidding. I'm only kidding.
Of
Joe,
course.
you're in your remote office, which is on the other side of the city, right? Away from your kids.
Yeah, the other side of the universe. Thank you.
All right, we're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we're going to, obviously, we have a press release going out. Rick, we want to talk about, if someone's watching this show right now and they want to put an offer in, can they do that? Or do we have to wait?
I mean, someone's
Oh, no,
watching.
absolutely.
Okay,
They can.
Yeah, millions
that's number
of
one.
people watch.
And so when we come back, we're going to switch gears up a little bit. Rick, you've kind of been under the radar for a couple of years. I want to get your opinion. I know Joe's opinion, but we're going to talk to Joe also about the state of the hobby, what direction the hobby is going in, and the big question, Mr. Snyder, are we going to see you at the National again finally? Hang in there. We'll be right back.
Hi, I'm Rebecca Curry, a 2-time child cancer survivor, recipient, and advocate for Lucy's Love Bus. The mission of Lucy's Love Bus, 501c3 nonprofit, is to provide joy, comfort, and quality of life for the entire family of children with cancer. Since 2006, they have delivered love and comfort to over 3,000 children with cancer and their family members across New England. The dream of Lucy Grogan, an 11-year-old cancer patient, was to help kids with cancer who are suffering right now, before there is a cure, by offering free integrative therapies like art, music, horseback riding, and many other activities. Unfortunately, Lucy passed away, but her dream lives on, and today Lucy's Love Bus is thriving.
I'm Red Sox Hall of Famer Rico Petrocelli. I hope that you'll consider supporting Lucy's Love Bus and all of those children who have been stricken by cancer. The Great American Collectibles Show is partnering with Lucy's Love Bus to help these kids. Let's continue Lucy's dream. Please go to lucyslovebus.org for more information.
Pristine Auction is a family-owned and operated online auction specializing in autographed memorabilia, sports cards, coins, art, and collectibles. Since their founding in 2010, they've grown to 2 facilities in Phoenix, Arizona, totaling over 60,000 square feet. Jared Cavalier and an incredible staff of over 150 team members serve a very large customer base and enjoy every minute of it. By working with leading authentication companies, Pristine ensures all items are 100% authentic. In addition, third-party authenticators regularly travel to Pristine Auction to provide authentication services on site. Pristine Auction strives to operate its business in a way that's honoring to God, their families, and their customers. With a strong focus on speed, quality, and premier customer service, their mission is to be the leading online auction for every level of collector and fan. Pristine also works for Hope Sports and Identity Hoops International, traveling to Mexico to build houses for the less fortunate. Pristine Auction offers several online auction formats with thousands of auctions ending each day. For more information, go to pristineauction.com. That's Pristine Auction, the best in the business.
If you're a discerning collector interested in owning the most important pieces in the hobby,
Look no further than Leland's Auctions. The original sports auction and appraisal house, Leland's was established in 1985 by legendary Pioneer founder Joshua Leland Evans. And today, President Mike Hefner carries on their tradition. From the Tom Brady card and memorabilia collection to the famed Boston Garden auction to high-end card auctions from every major sport, Leland's has always maintained the highest standards. Go to Lelands.com and get your bid in. That's Leland's, the hobby's leading sports auction house for 4 decades.
It's often been said that championships are won on the practice field, and world records come only to those willing to work harder than everybody else. Heritage Auctions is the world's largest collectibles auctioneer because we believe that becoming the best is only an invitation to the challenge of remaining the best. This requires the skills of the hobby's top experts, capable of identifying and maximizing value for our consigners. It requires the most visited website in the industry, courting a global audience of collectors over 1.5 million strong. It requires a dedicated press department that expands our global reach far beyond the entrenched hobby marketplace. It's hard work, but a simple premise. Present the finest collectibles to the largest population of potential buyers, and world records will come. We invite all listeners to put the unmatched power of Heritage Auctions to work for you. Auction evaluations are always free, and our commission-based fee structure ensures that our interests are always aligned. The highest possible price for your collectibles. There will always be new world records to chase, so let's chase them together. Visit our website at ha.com and request your no-obligation review today.
Hi, this is Dan from Memory Lane Auctions, here to remind you that the renowned Memory Lane Collectibles Company has served as a beacon of light to the collecting community for the past several decades. Indeed, folks, it has been our utmost privilege and pleasure to provide the most enthusiastic collectors with an abundance of the finest sports cards and memorabilia for America's most coveted sports personalities via our world-class auctions. Whether you choose either a private sale transaction or the auction route, Memory Lane cordially invites you to reach out to us to maximize the value of your prized possessions. Also, it is not just sales that we pride ourselves on being the best of the rest, because if you are seeking a particular keepsake for your esteemed gathering, we will be relentless in our quest to find that special piece to fulfill your collecting dreams. So no time to wait. Reach out to us today for the purposes of capitalizing on our unparalleled marketing capabilities. Simply pick up the phone and dial 877-606-5263. That's 877-606-LANE, or find us on the World Wide Web at www.memorylaneinc.com. Now is the time for your valued consignment to ultimately become another one of Memory Lane's record-setting prices.
Hey, I'm Mike Petroselli. If your company is looking for the best in marketing and promotional items, you'll hit a home run with Petroselli Marketing. With over 8,000 suppliers and 650,000 imprint-ready items, we can get your company the visibility it needs to get your maximum exposure. Whether it be office promotions, wearables, automotive, sports items, and everything in between, Petroselli Marketing can do it all. Our design staff will even work with you from concept to delivery and customize your products. At Petroselli Marketing Group, we will get your brand in front of your audience. Contact us at info@petrosellimkt.com or call us at 603-880-3202. That's Petroselli Marketing, where no dream is impossible.
Yeah, go to Petroselli. The best place to go is to the website, petrosellimkt.com. It has all the products there. You got screen printing, you got embroidery.
Pens
and
Joe,
pencils.
don't be so cheap, you guys.
Yeah, hey,
you guys have Heritage Auction pens, right?
No, we got
Why
prices
don't you buy
are
them from
great.
Petroselli Marketing? Mint State pens from Petroselli Marketing.
No, yeah, I'm serious. We have prices really good.
Rick, you know what would be nice? Nice Mint State hat with a red with a red Cobb right here on the rim.
Absolutely, that would be beautiful.
Right? All right, it's time for our segment On Deck with Rico, brought to us.
Your questions answered on deck with Rico Patricelli.
You didn't let me do it the other week.
sorry.
I wanted to do it.
Time for our segment On Deck with Rico. All right. Brought to us each week by our good friend Brian Dwyer and the great staff at REA Auctions. Don't forget to get your bid in by going to robertedwardauctions.com.
Yeah.
That's Robert Edward Auctions for extraordinary results and extraordinary service.
Yeah.
This week's question was submitted by Mr. Scott McAvoy.
Oh, okay. Scott?
Irish kid.
Oh, what is it?
This is kind of a cool question. What was the craziest few autographs you ever signed?
Oh, my God. Craziest. Well, I'll be honest with you. A bra, woman's bra.
Did you really?
Yeah. I was just, what the hell was I going to do? She went, sign my bra. So I went, and I signed it.
At the park?
Yeah, in the park, when they, the gate where everybody's looking for autographs.
So you signed her bra?
Yeah, I signed a bra, and, I didn't tell my wife, but the other thing is, this is the craziest thing.
You know what he did, though? He signed a bra, he put his phone number on it.
No, I would never do that. The other thing, though, is the worst, the craziest, but the worst. And the Babe Ruth ball. Guy had a Babe Ruth ball.
Listen
Beautiful
to this.
signature, and he says, "You're my favorite player of all time." Yeah, okay. I want you to sign the ball. So I got the ball. I says, "You got Babe Ruth on here." Yeah, but I want your signature. I says, I can't sign this. Are you crazy?
So there is
the guy I couldn't get rid of him. So I said, all right, I signed it.
So there's a Babe Ruth Rico Petrocelli ball.
Oh, what is
somewhere out in the universe. Joe, what would that be worth? Now, would that cut the price in half?
Of course, it'll cut it in half.
I can't let you do this to Rico, Tom. I just can't. I can't.
I got to white out the signature.
All right. Before we get back to Rick, why don't you tell us about our good friend Charlie?
Oh,
Perino.
yes. So another just great. They got great people in this.
Oh, just read it.
Oh, come on. I'm not sucking up. I'm just very happy to be here.
Just read it.
All right. If you want to have an absolute.
Oh, jeez.
Sorry, Charles. If you want to have an absolute blast at obtaining some great modern and vintage cars, you got to check out JRI Cards. Our paisan Charlie, the Iron Ripper Perino, along with Money Marco, the Dollar Girls, and the JRI Gang, give you a chance to participate in opening a graded, unopened, and sealed fresh wax or cello pack or of your favorite sport or non-sport favorites. It's easy. You buy in. Charlie opens the pack. Featured in the LA Times, ESPN, and USA Radio, JRI is the hottest card-pulling show on the internet. Charlie and his staff make it fun, entertaining, and enjoyable with his collection of hats and sound effects. And don't forget that JRI donates a part of their proceeds to various charities. That's JRI Cards. Hello. JRI Cards, check out their exclusive breaks and events that everyone is talking about. They're always digging up cardboard treasures. For a great hobby experience, go to jricards.com.
Charlie's a good guy. We have fun
Wonderful
with Charlie.
guy.
Joe, do you know Charlie? Have you ever met him? No. Charlie Perino from from JRI. He's a piece of work. He really is. All right. Question for both of you gentlemen. Rick, you first. Now, you've been kind of under the radar, as we all know, or at least I know, for several years. And the hobby in that time period has, in my opinion, changed dramatically. Go to the National, and we were doing the show from the Whatnot stage, and Rico kept asking me, what's Whatnot? You know what I mean? We just, it's all, the technology has been amazing. What are your thoughts on the direction, Rick? Are you happy with the direction the hobby is going in?
Absolutely. If this has expanded, I think the reach of the hobby that we probably haven't either ever seen or seen in decades. There was a point in time when you would go to the National and it was like being at a funeral. It was really sad. And everyone kept saying, we have to get the younger generation back in. Cards are by nature children's toys. And so children should be involved in the hobby. And I think that in part that's definitely helped with that. But you go to the show now and you see so many families and young people and children, and it's exactly what we need. We need to have the next generation of collectors come in.
Joe?
Yeah, I mean, I agree with what Rick just said. I mean, that's what did we say for years, going back 10, 15, 25 years ago? How do we get the younger generations involved in the hobby and to see the last couple of years at the National, my goodness, that the attendance and to see what makes up most of that attendance, it's young people. And to see that, is just, it bodes well for the future of the hobby, that's for sure.
A couple of weeks ago, we were at the Wilmington show. Rico did a signing and got paid. And I bought sandwiches for our sponsors and didn't get paid. But put that aside, I was very impressed. I brought my grandson, Johnny, to the show with me, first time. And I was really impressed with the young kids that were at that show. There were tons of them, which really, really, really gave me a good feeling. And Joe, I don't know if you've been to that show. Rick, I don't know if you ever have, but it used to be a strongly vintage show. Now it's really 50-50. I mean, there was a ton of vintage stuff, but there was a ton of modern and ultra-modern cards, and some of those booths were really, backed up. People, kids with basketball players, a lot of signed stuff these days.
Also, it's a question, really. Oh, not really, but maybe. There's all different kind of collectors, right? There's the ones who say, man or kid, that would get a woman, that would want a card because it's their favorite team, right?
Yeah.
Then there's the others who want to get a whole team. There's the other ones who want. I'm leading up to have it as an investment. Okay, the cards are better investments than even Wall
there's
Street.
There's no doubt.
I mean, you have different categories of people. So the shows must see, all different collectors.
I'm assuming, Rick, you too, that you guys are proponents, and I agree with you, is that you should collect for the love of the hobby. And there are people that don't collect for the love of the hobby. They collect for the love of making a few bucks or gambling. And that's what it's all about. I guess that's the case.
Yeah, I mean,
everywhere.
You kind of, I think a lot of you guys try to you don't want to talk about the investment side as much because you're talking fun. And I agree. I was a kid. I collected cards too.
But Joe, with sports betting now and all of the stuff that's going on, isn't it all part of? It's all part of like comes under one big umbrella with some of the guys that are collecting.
Yeah, I mean, look, the other side of this is that sure there is a sort of percentage of this younger participation that they're not collecting their favorite players, they're not collecting their favorite teams. It's not an emotional thing for them. It's they're speculators, they're prospecting. People use that term. They're trying to see if they buy a bunch of Bo Nix cards and he's having a great year, at Denver, and they're hoping he pans out, and then other guys are buying Anthony Richardson and hoping he pans out. I mean, it's just there is an element there, and I don't love that part of it. But to be fair, that existed in the 1980s.
It did. You're right.
Yeah, I mean, that's just that's a part of it.
It did. Yeah. I can't disagree with you, Rick. I know that you've kind of your collection. You're a comic book collector, correct?
I used to be. When Beth met me, I was collecting comics. When I formed Mint-State, I promised her I would no longer collect. We'd be homeless and I'd have the world's greatest collection. And so that was part of the arrangement. So I really don't collect anymore, but absolutely. Mint-State also does buying and selling of comic books. That is actually my favorite collectible, are comic books.
Right. So Rick,
Yes.
I mean, again, I know that you've never went out of business and you've been kind of going along. I suspect now that Mint-State is going to be back up at the forefront whether you like it or not. I'm just
Is that
saying.
a question or
no? It wasn't.
statement?
It was a statement. Listen, before we end this thing, how about the Philly show?
Well, why don't you read it?
No.
All right, I'll read it. It's tough, I tell you.
Yeah, I'm
give
real
me the
tough.
word. All right, East Coast Sports Marketing and Hunt Auctions are pleased to present the Philadelphia Sports Collectors Show. The Philly Show, from Friday, December 13th to Sunday, December 15th, held at the Greater Philadelphia Expo Center, Hall B, that's Hall B, 100 Station Avenue, Oaks, Pennsylvania, 19456. Shop over 300 of your favorite hobby dealers' booths on over 100,000 square feet of sports collectibles heaven from the 1800s to present day.
That's when you played.
I know he was going to. Major sports auction houses and third-party grading and authentication companies are on hand to assist your collecting needs. The Philly Show is family-friendly, and all kids 12 and under get in for free. Hey, look at this. Autograph guests to include Dr. J. Oh, he was one of my favorites. Julie Serving, Tim Raines, Bartolo Colon, 10 of the Broad Street Bullies Stanley Cup champions, two-time Super Bowl champ LaShawn McCoy, and many more. And for more information, go to phillyshow.com. Remember, since 1975, remember that?
Yeah, that was a good year.
The Philly Show is.
That was a great
where
year.
it all started.
Yeah, it was a really good year. You blew the World Series. No, that's okay, though.
That's all right. It's all right.
No,
we got
that's
there. We
okay.
got there.
It doesn't matter.
Hey,
You
this
didn't
has been
win.
great. You guys have
Hold
been.
on. You did not win.
Would you please?
With all due respect, I suffered that night.
Well, no, we didn't. But yeah, this has been terrific.
Yeah, that was great.
The story and the explanations and stuff like this. This is for me, who was a novice, obviously. Even though I went to art school.
He's a novice. He's been on the show for 8 years, and he's still a novice. Think about that. Really
Well,
think
I don't
about
want to
that.
learn too much. I don't want to make you look bad.
Rick, people, obviously, if they want to buy part of your collection, all of your collection, just go to mintstate.com.
MintStateInc.com.
MintStateInc.com. Contact Rick. Let him know if you saw Rick's appearance on our show, and put a bid in. I think it would be a really nice gesture on all of the viewers that are watching and listening right now on all the different platforms to pitch in and buy the car for you and I.
Oh, that would be nice.
Right?
Sure. You should.
Just thought I'd throw that out.
I need,
All right, guys.
I agree, and I hope it happens.
Thank you. Rick, it's been great talking to you, man, and reconnecting with you. You mean a lot to us. You've been a great help and a great support for the show over the years. Joe, you know what you do for us. We love you.
It's the best.
And Ellen, by the way, Joe, I got to be honest with you. You're not getting wine this year. All right? You're not getting wine. Ellen has something up her sleeve, and she won't tell me. She says, we're not getting him wine. We get them wine every year. I said, but he's an alcoholic. And she said, no, it doesn't matter. But anyway.
Hey, Ty Cobb back. Thank you.
With that being said,
guys, great guys.
Rick Snyder, Mint State.
That was
Joe Orlando, Heritage Auction. Thank you, guys. We love you both.
Thank
and
you.
to our viewers and listeners, thank you for all the support. Happy collecting.
The views and opinions expressed by the hosts, guests, or callers of this program do not necessarily reflect the opinions of the Studio 21 Podcast Cafe, the United Podcast Network, its partners, or affiliates.